To see which dog was most qualified to be a guide dog, the woman called the dogs over. Sensing what was happening, the dogs rushed over. Only one little dog remained standing, not reacting. After a few seconds, it trotted over, raised its head, and sat down. It looked at its owner as if to ask what it was wanted for. But it was this cute little dog that was chosen as the most qualified guide dog because it was calm, patient, and not fussy, the essential qualities for the role. And so, Buddy left his first owner and was taken to the Guide Dog Training Center. However, instead of immediately training Buddy, the trainer found a foster family for him. This was because guide dogs need to experience plenty of love as puppies to trust humans in their future work. Buddy had a very happy puppyhood here, with his own little yard and comfortable days of eating and sleeping. But a year flew by. Though still young, Buddy experienced a lot of love at his foster parents' home. That night, snow suddenly began to fall, and the day of separation arrived. The next day, they took a long walk among the cherry trees. His foster parents told Buddy he had to come back to see them when the cherry blossoms bloomed again. Finally, Buddy was put on a truck. Goodbyes are always hard. Watching Buddy, who didn't understand what was happening, his foster parents initially tried to be strong as he left. But as the truck drove further away, they couldn't resist rushing forward to chase after it, waving goodbye at the intersection, knowing Buddy had a greater purpose. This was Buddy's second time leaving someone. He was sent to a guide dog training center. Upon arrival, however, he didn't get along with the other dogs. Accustomed to the delicious food from his previous home, Buddy couldn't stomach the dog food and angrily kicked over his bowl. Buddy's stomach grumbled. The next day during training, he was so hungry he would eat anything he saw. Seeing this, the trainer grew exasperated and decided that Buddy couldn't resist the temptation of food. Furthermore, in later obedience training, while the other dogs were very obedient, Buddy just lazily sat on the ground and wouldn't move. Fortunately, the trainer didn't give up on him. He began to use positive reinforcement, stroking Buddy's belly and telling him he was the most special dog he had ever met. With the trainer's patient guidance, Buddy started to cooperate. After a few days of training, the trainer initially thought Buddy was just an ordinary dog. But one day when he was busy, he told Buddy to stay put before leaving. Buddy stayed put for so long that the trainer forgot about him and had begun training other dogs before inadvertently noticing him. He looked at Buddy in disbelief. Unexpectedly, Buddy innately possessed the necessary qualities of a guide dog, able to overcome his instincts and suppress his desires, something even humans find difficult. To his surprise, Buddy also had an excellent memory. During route training, he could easily remember every step and every corner. As the trainer repeatedly called out the names of various obstacles, Buddy even started playing tricks. No matter how complex the environment, it was difficult to fool him, and the trainer grew increasingly fond of him. Soon, the training center held the guide dog test. When the starting gun suddenly fired, the dogs panicked. Those who ran off were too sensitive to sound. Those who kept barking were too excitable. Only Buddy calmly stayed in his original position, the first to qualify as a guide dog. Perhaps it was fate. One day during training, they saw a blind man. The trainer quickly pulled Buddy and hurried after him, hoping to let him try walking with a guide dog. But the man was stubborn and didn't believe a dog could lead the way, until the trainer assured him that the 30-minute walk would only take the guide dog 10 minutes. Then, the man cautiously picked up the guide rod, ready to try it out. However, at first their teamwork was rough. The man was afraid of dogs and didn't dare to trust Buddy. He walked very stiffly and had to double check at every turn, not trusting Buddy's guidance at all. When they reached a familiar stretch of road, he started acting confidently again. A passing truck startled him. Despite the bumpy start, they managed to reach their destination in 10 minutes. The man began to understand guide dogs better, so he wanted to keep Buddy, but to officially have a guide dog, he needed to complete compatibility training. This required not only practical experience, but also theoretical knowledge, which stumped the man and the dog who hated studying. Moreover, the man was also quite the chauvinist. When they reached a barrier, even though Buddy had clearly stopped, he insisted on pushing through. Then he even blamed Buddy. When faced with a downhill slope, the man wouldn't listen to the guidance and fell. After finally completing a barrier exercise, the trainer reminded him to praise the dog, but he retorted, "Don't shout, you'll scare everyone." Sure enough, after training ended the next day, all the blind individuals received their graduation certificates, but he was sitting alone in the corner. Buddy seemed to sense his owner's disappointment, so he wagged his tail and went over to comfort him. The man was touched by this, and the frown he'd worn since losing his sight finally softened into a smile. From then on, he started to gradually trust Buddy. He not only trained seriously during the day, but also snuck out for extra practice at night, only to be caught by the staff. It's already dark, isn't it? It's always dark for me. Before long, they finally finished the exam. On their departure night, the man wanted to celebrate with a beer, but because he couldn't see, he mistakenly picked up several apple juices. As he was about to put in the last coin, Buddy quickly alerted him, barking 3 times. So the man confidently went to the third vending machine, and it turned out to be beer. From then on, the bond between the man and the dog grew stronger, and so the man successfully graduated and returned home. The children adored Buddy, but the wife didn't like dogs, so they could only build a simple kennel outside. But unexpectedly, on his first day back at work, the man relapsed into his old habits and stubbornly refused to listen to Buddy's guidance, causing the cars behind him to be blocked. But everyone was very patient. No one honked. Too slow, too slow. Back at work, the man started complaining about his guide dog. A blind colleague, out of sympathy, secretly took Buddy for a walk. The man found out and yelled, and Buddy ran back. "Mr. Watanabe, it's already dark. It's always dark for me." The trainer found out about the man causing traffic disruptions and told him, "Doing this will not only get you killed, Buddy will be injured too." Before leaving, he warned him, "If you do this again, Buddy's rights will be revoked." The man realized his mistake. It rained heavily that night. The boy went to the kennel to bring Buddy an umbrella, but Buddy thought he wanted to play. The sounds of the boy and the dog tugging were heard by the man. He angrily opened the window and scolded his son. Realizing his son was bringing Buddy an umbrella, the man understood his misunderstanding. "Stop it! Don't cause trouble!" The boy felt hurt and yelled at Buddy as he left. Buddy, who had grown up in a loving environment, couldn't endure such treatment. Sadly, he left home in the downpour. He wandered the streets, becoming a stray dog. It wasn't until a few days later that the man received a call saying Buddy had been found at someone's house. He angrily told Buddy not to come back, then turned and walked away without looking back. In reality, he was very worried, afraid Buddy really wouldn't return. So when he was sure Buddy had followed him, the man felt relieved and pulled him into a hug. After returning home, the man added a roof to the kennel to protect Buddy from the weather. From then on, they lived together for 2 years. The man thought life would always be this peaceful, until one day he suddenly felt unwell and got up to go to the restroom. Although he didn't call for Buddy, Buddy in the corner sensed something was wrong. Sure enough, when he went into the restroom, he saw his owner vomiting. Buddy anxiously paced around him. The man became ill and was sent to the hospital. 4 tubes were inserted into his arms. Buddy didn't know what illness his owner had, so he could only silently stay by his side day and night. Because no one was taking care of Buddy there, the trainer came to the hospital to take him away. The son couldn't bear to see his seriously ill father separated from Buddy again, so while he was asleep, he quietly took Buddy away. Unseen, a hand reached out from behind as if to say goodbye. Buddy, not far away, seemed to sense something and turned back, staying for a long time. For the next 3 years, the man never came to get him. Buddy didn't look for a new owner. He started working as a demonstration dog until one day he suddenly heard a familiar sound, the tap of a blind cane. Buddy excitedly rushed out. Sure enough, his owner was back. He wagged his tail and snuggled into the man's arms. Man and dog enjoyed their long-awaited reunion, but the man wasn't there to take him home. They went to the training ground and walked 30 meters. Just like in their initial training, then the man told Buddy to stop. He said, "That's enough." This was the last stretch Buddy would walk with him. It turned out the man knew his time was near. He had come to say goodbye to Buddy. Not long after, the man passed away. Buddy also came to the memorial service. Looking at the body in the coffin, he didn't understand why his owner was lying there, why there were white flowers all around, and why the people who used to joke with his owner were suddenly crying. On the way back to the training center, as they approached the step, Buddy still stopped, reminding the trainer to watch out for the step. Buddy was indeed a remarkable guide dog, gentle and composed throughout his life. 7 years flew by. At the age of 11, Buddy retired from the Guide Dog Center and was sent back to his foster parents to be cared for. He constantly sniffed the familiar scents of the house. Everything was so recognizable, but he had grown old. The steps he once leaped down effortlessly now required his foster father to carry him. He had seen life's ups and downs, meeting kind people along the way. He could finally spend his remaining days in the place where he had grown up. Buddy was undeniably fortunate. He lived happily there for another year, until one day, while stepping onto a step, Buddy lost his footing and fell heavily to the ground. He, who had always warned others about the step, had stumbled on it himself. Buddy was simply too old. He no longer had the strength to rise. This fall proved fatal for him in his old age. The doctor could do nothing more, only observe how much longer Buddy would hold on. One night, his foster parents heard his labored breathing and rushed to Buddy's side, gently stroking his fur. They comforted him, saying, "You've worked so hard. It's all right now. Buddy, thank you. Sleep, sleep, sleep." They faced Buddy with brave faces, saying their final goodbyes. Buddy, after living for 12 years and 25 days, completed his ordinary yet remarkable life. Guide dogs aren't just any dog. People are fortunate to encounter one because there are fewer than 200 guide dogs in our country. While the visually impaired population is as high as 17 million, each guide dog is truly one in a million. They overcome their instincts every day, sacrificing their freedom to quietly serve humankind. To date, there hasn't been a single instance of a guide dog harming anyone anywhere in the world, yet many people still discriminate against them. I hope that through this story, we can all learn to treat them with kindness.